Let's talk about Avengers Infinity War. So it is now Friday, and I saw it yesterday with my family, and just had a couple quick thoughts about it, and I want to keep these quick because I know quick videos are usually better videos. And before I go, people are probably wondering, who are you? What makes me different? What makes me someone you would want to listen to in my review? And the answer is probably nobody. I am just a kid from Utah talking about movies. But one thing I do have that nobody else has is my rating system. And it is kind of, I guess the comparison and the competitor, so to speak, is the MPAA rating system. And if you have more questions about it, go to my website. It's brockbankrating.com. And I'll put the link in. It's on my YouTube channel. You can find the link. And the rating for this movie, for Avengers Infinity War, is a 4.000, which this is the first one that actually had a .000. Normally they have the three decimals that make it, so really no two movies have the same rating, at least not yet. I'm still in the beginning stages. So as of now, no movies have the same rating. So this 4.000 puts it in the yellow category, but still on the lower, safer end, so to speak, for families. There's not much in this film that would make anyone feel uncomfortable. It's a pretty standard Marvel movie, so if you've seen other Marvel movies, then you have to have no issue with this one. Probably as far as content goes, more towards the scale of Guardians of the Galaxy, though. It does have a few more crude comments. But again, it's standard Marvel. The crude comments are nothing that'll really make you uncomfortable. It's a pretty easy yellow, and like I said, a 4.000. So fun for the family, and if you're a Marvel fan, you have to see this movie. And let's go into now the actual review, and non-spoiler review, so don't worry about that. But this movie is fantastic. Before I get into the good stuff I loved, I will say there were a few things that kind of bugged me. First and foremost, they mentioned that this will not be a Part 1 and Part 2 movie, but that the two Avengers films are standalone, as far as the next two, this one and the next one coming out in a year. The feel of it, though, is definitely a Part 1. The ending is satisfying in its own right, but it's not, as far as the structure of the film goes, it doesn't feel like an ending. It's definitely a cliffhanger, almost like a season end for a TV show, and actually leaving this movie and thinking about it, I kind of have the same feel I did at the end of the last Game of Thrones season, knowing it was a full year and now 2 years before I would see the next episode. And with this movie, it leaves you with the same. You leave wondering, or feeling, I wish I could see the next one so I could know how this story gets resolved. So it's its own standalone movie, and it is a great movie, but it does have the feel of to be continued at the end, which I guess a lot of Marvel movies do that, but this one definitely more than any of the other ones. So that is one downside. Surprisingly, I'm not sitting here and giving the downside of there's too much going on. That was mine and probably everybody's biggest fear coming into this movie, is there is so much going on. So many characters to bring together, so many storylines to bring together, and so many things in this movie. And it is a 2.5-hour runtime, and me and my brother were talking about it today. It actually feels too short. And I'm sure a lot of movie lovers and people who love the Marvel movies will feel that same way. There's probably some just the casual movie fans who will feel it's a little bit long, or definitely won't feel it's too short. But you don't look at your watch. You're not wondering when's it going to end. There's no scenes making you feel like that tense feeling of, all right, what's next? So that was impressive. And going into a little bit more about how they brought all the characters together and how impressive that really is. Because I don't think there's, at least in what I can think of just off the top of my head, there's been no other movies that bring this much together. The first Avengers might be the most comparable as far as bringing a bunch of different characters and different films together. But the Russo brothers, I have to, round of applause to them. This was an incredible feat to accomplish. And I also loved the dynamic of, you're bringing in the Guardians of the Galaxy, you're bringing in Thor, you're bringing in all the Avengers on Earth, you're bringing in different characters, and it would have been really easy to leave each faction to themselves. To say, here's the Guardians of the Galaxy's role, here's Thor, and probably you could put Thor and Hulk in the same category, here's their role, and then here's the Avengers role, and then Doctor Strange is kind of his own, here's his role. but they did a great job of bringing the characters together and letting them, getting a new dynamic with characters. And I'm not going to go into specifics because, again, you just want to see it. You don't want me here telling you who's with who. But just be prepared for a new dynamic and it makes it better for the dramatic reasons, but more than that for the comedic reasons. It's fun to see all these great actors and actresses with just with being able to interact with new characters and shine as they always do in their standalone films. So that was my feeling towards the characters and towards bringing this all together. Very impressive, and just, again, a standing ovation for the Russo brothers and how incredible this really was. The story itself was fantastic. I did mention it felt like a part one of a two-part series, but that didn't take away from this movie. Overall, my grade that I gave it, that you can again see on my website, was an A-, which, as I've said, I love movies. There's very rarely I'm going to see a movie and come away without at least liking it. And so an A- is a great score. It really is. Most of the to put it in a category with some of the other movies that are A-, I believe I had The Martian as an A-, which is one of my favorite films. And Die Hard, I believe, was an A or A-, and so it's in that realm with some of those classics. Probably has some recency bias to that grade. The more time goes on between when you give a movie a grade and actually first see the movie and you give it that grade, like, oh, it's great, and then you think back on it and you're like, well, it had this to it, or it had this problem, or when you look back on movies, your grade usually goes down a little bit, I would say. But with this film, I don't see that happening. I won't be able to give it a real grade until I've seen the next one, because it does feel like they're going to be very connected, but I don't see it getting worse than an A-, B+. And so I feel comfortable with the A- grade on this film, and very comfortable giving the recommendation that everyone needs to see it. If you're a Marvel fanatic, you've already seen it, let's be honest. If you're just a general Marvel fan and you've seen all the movies and you liked them, you need to see this one and you'll love it. It'll be probably one of your favorites of all the Marvel films. If your favorite film is Guardians of the Galaxy, then maybe this won't be your favorite, because I feel like Guardians of the Galaxy is kind of its own thing, and this, while in the content feels more like a Guardians of the Galaxy, it definitely has more of a feel of the actual film, like the Avengers. So more of a generic Marvel film. And then if you're just a casual moviegoer and you're not even a big Marvel fan, or maybe you haven't even seen them all, I would still recommend seeing this one. It would probably be hard to follow if you hadn't seen the other movies, but you would still, if you didn't see it, you'd be missing out on a lot of great things that the director has done with the directors, plural directors have done with this movie. The impressive work from the actors, and being able to share the screen but still shine. So yeah, I recommend anybody seeing this movie. Even the casual moviegoer, you should see this film. And I did want to give one more, I've given a lot of shout-outs, obviously, to the Russo brothers, who deserve a ton of credit, but did want to emphasize and give another shout-out, so to speak, to the individual actors, including actresses, obviously. I hope that goes without saying. But they've done a phenomenal job with this film, bringing their own personalities to this huge story and this huge collaboration, and each character had a role. It didn't feel like any character was wasted. It didn't feel like any character was just there to be there, except one, but that would be more for a spoiler review. But it was a great movie. It really was. And I would say my favorite character, if I was going to pick one, which is tough in a movie like this, but I would say Tom Holland as Spider-Man. His standalone film is probably one of my favorite Marvel films so far in this world, at least the MCU. But he really did a great job. I loved his part, and I feel like his innocence to that role, while also having the sarcasm, and even coming into a big scale like this, which had a lot heavier stakes than most Marvel movies, and definitely heavier stakes than the standalone Spider-Man movie, he still did a great job of being funny and sarcastic, but also you could feel the weight of that character. And so I thought that was very impressive. And you could say that honestly about any character. If anybody I talk to says that they had a different favorite character, it'd be really hard to argue with them, because each character was so vital and did a really great job. So overall, see this movie. A-. See it in theaters. See it in IMAX. Go see it. It's fantastic. And yeah, again, find my website, go look at it, go check it out, and I'll see you guys in the next video.